Hello guys, welcome to the fast castle build order. Today I will be showing you guys how to do a fast castle on, well, just a fast castle. I guess it works on any map, but it's usually used on Arabia and team games by the pocket players. Anyways, let me kind of just get into it. First off, when I'm practicing builds, I love to play as Saracens because they don't have any eco bonuses. So if you can do any of the builds with Saracens, you can do them with any other civ. So it's good to practice builds with Saracens, I think. Some builds that you can only do with like the eco bonus civs, like Huns and Japanese and um, Celts maybe. Um, but for the general builds, I like to just do Saracens. I'm also just play against the computer, just practicing the eco. I think for newer players as well, if you're really new, you should probably consider playing on all visible in the beginning. That way you can focus just on the eco for the build and not have to focus on the scouting or, well, I guess just the scouting. Anyways, I'm gonna do the scouting this time. So, but if you're newer, maybe you can play on all visible. Anyways, let me get into it. So there's going to be a lot of tips in this video that I use that I don't actually talk about. I'm going to make a Dark Age tips video. So if you check my channel, hopefully it'll be on there and you can watch that video. I'd probably actually recommend um, maybe watching that video before you watch the rest of this video, because a lot of the tips that I talk about in that video will be useful during this build. So yeah. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get 6 villagers on to sheep. The reason why you want 6 on sheep is because that's pretty much the number you need in order to make constant villager production, or at least to keep, to be getting enough food to make constant villagers from your TC. The object of the game, well, not the game, but I guess the Dark Age, is to never let your TC idle. You never want to have, you always want to be researching something or be making villagers. So right now, we just hit our 6th villager. So we're going to now go to wood. We need wood in order to, we need to make a lumber camp, otherwise we'll have villagers running all the way back and forth between the TC, which of course will not be efficient. But other than that, we're going to need wood later for berries, right? Again, we don't want to have villagers running back and forth, so yeah. So what we're going to do here is, for this build, we're going to put 4 on wood. This is actually a kind of tough wood line because it's tough to see where exactly the trees are that are right up against the lumber camp. So we'll try our best, but if it's not perfect, then, well, I guess we just got to do our best, right? So yeah, we're just going to keep force dropping food. You'll see top players, they constantly go back and forth and they're constantly spamming their TC button and their creation button. That's just because they're really trying to make sure that they don't have any idle TC time. Yeah, so once we have 4 on wood, we're actually going to lure our first boar. And I kind of got lucky here because I didn't really do a good job scouting, and I still managed to still find that first boar. So we're in luck. Alright, so you need to shoot the boar twice. If you're a new player, maybe you're not familiar with that tip, but it's a very important tip for playing in general. So you got to make sure you shoot the boar twice. At this point, you can notice that our population is 12 of 15, and we're going to need to build a house really soon here. So the next villager I'm going to actually send, I'm going to send to build a house, and I'm going to send it to build the house over in this direction because I want to actually start putting villagers on the mill. The reason why I want to put villagers on the mill, even though berries are gathered slower than sheep and boar, is because if we have too many villagers underneath the TC, then the TC becomes quite crowded and villagers start to bump into each other and start being idle. So we want to have a nice balance between villagers that are gathering sheep and boar under the TC and villagers that are gathering berries from the berry patch. All right. You'll see, well, I'm not going to actually, there's some more important tips, but I think in later videos or in the Dark Age tip videos, I'll talk more about those. So, all right, I'm going to unpause now. You also want to keep making sure you force drop the food. So here, we got to make that force drop, right? If we don't make that, and that's the tough part about this part, is you have to make that force drop around the same time that you're trying to lure the boar in. So newer players, it might be a little bit difficult to do that, and it might take a few times to get used to. but it's something that you really need to do because you don't want to have like an idle TC for like 10-15 seconds while you're trying to lure that boar in. You have to be able to multitask and get them both done. So here again, we're force dropping the food. We don't want to have that idle time. It's kind of sucks that this house kind of screws up this berry a little bit. Like it could cause a little bit of idle time there, but yeah. And then if you're a little bit more experienced, you should be able to micro your villagers. You want them to you want them to be gathering berries as efficiently as possible. So I'm going to pause again. So after you got in the 4 on berries, and actually while you're putting the 4 on berries, this is one thing I didn't actually do here, but I should have been checking the food on the boar. So you want to be able to lure your next boar before you want to have that next boar in before this boar finishes. So usually you want to check the board to see how much food it has left, and then based on how much food it has left and how far the boar um, is is how you determine when to go lure the next one. So let me unpause this real quick, and I might have been actually too late. I might need to bring a sheep underneath a TC so I can eat the sheep while I lure the next boar in, but hopefully I'll be able to lure that next boar in before this one finishes, but we'll have to take a good look here. Usually 160 food is like an average. Like if your boar is average distance away, that's when you should go lure it, when your boar is at 160. But if your boar is excessively far away, then maybe even 180 or 200. And if it's really close, maybe 110 or something like that. So I think the boar here is pretty average distance. So hopefully we'll be within 160 food. So we're at 140. So we'll see how this goes. Anyways, you want to go lure that next boar, and while you're luring that next boar in, let's put down another lumber camp. It's good to spread out the woods. That way they're a little bit more efficient. If you have like 8 on one lumber camp, they often bump into each other, kind of similar to what I was saying about the villagers under the TC. They start to bump into each other a lot when whoops, there we go. So here again, I accidentally sent a villager to boar here, so we're just gonna send them back over here. And just make sure you don't get housed. I almost got housed there, so it's really important to keep checking that. Make sure you don't get housed. All right, and then we're just gonna micro them so they have a really good placement. All right, so at this point we're gonna have 4 on wood here. This villager's here going to wood. We have 4 on wood here. We have 4 on berries. So this is the ideal setup, is to get 4 on wood, 4 on wood, 4 on berries. So it's kind of easy to remember. At this point, after you got in the wood set and everything's looking good, right? Now you want to start using your wood to make farms, because again, what I was saying before is you don't want to have so many villagers on the boar, right? You don't want to have 15 villagers gathering from this boar, right? Because the villagers will start bumping into each other, and then what happens is once the boar finishes, you'll have all these villagers idle, right? And it's important that we have as few villagers idle as possible. So we want to actually start making farms and kind of diversify our our food eco a little bit more. And yeah, and usually what you want to do is you want to use the hurt vills to build the farms. That way they're close to your TC. That way if the enemy's putting on pressure or whatever, you don't have villagers that are hurt or that are way far away from your TC. You have them nice and close. So yeah, and bonus points if you can put the farms on the back side of your TC. Even though sometimes it's not the most efficient, for food gathering purposes, it's better to keep them back here. That way they're away from your enemy. So in this case, the enemy might be over on the right-hand side. So we'll try our best to put the farms in the back with the hurt vills. So yeah, let's go. We can rally the new vills as well to the boar, but again, we want to keep moving them off of. We want to move the vills off of boar, because we don't want to stacked. And we're basically just doing this whenever we have the wood for the farm. So yeah, make sure you build a house. I can see right now that I'm gonna need to build a house soon. For more experienced players as well, you should try to micro your villagers, make sure they're gathering pretty efficiently. That'll really help you out. I'm also doing things like small tips like checking the boar. This isn't something you have to do, but especially if you're not experienced. But you should be able to check the board, because there, if I just transition quickly, then I don't have any idle time. So it's kind of just small tips. For this build, we're actually going to be going up on 27 population. So yeah, so we'll just queue up 2 more vills, and then we'll have 3, and then that'll put us at 27 pop. So again, we're just gonna keep making farms. It's pretty simple, you know, 4, 4, 4, and 4, and then just basically making farms. Not too difficult. Um, yeah, I would really check out the Dark Age tips video that I'm gonna make if I haven't already. If it's not already put up there, then hopefully it'll be out soon. Um, yeah, there are just a lot of small things I do. So here we're just getting Lume right now, which in the Dark Age video I'll talk about this as well. But the kind of objective is you want to delay getting Lume as long as possible, because if you get Lume early, it's almost like you made an extra villager. And if you can imagine an extra villager gathering for like that amount of time, so say we get Lume right away in the game, basically we're not going to have that extra villager, and having an extra villager this whole time would have given us a lot more resources. So it's good to delay Loom, but if you ever feel like the enemy's going to kill your villager or with a scout, or the boar is going to kill your villager because it's so far away, or maybe you're not really experienced with boar luring yet, or maybe even there's really bad lag. Sometimes when there's really bad lag in a team game or something like that, I will just get Loom probably like right before I lure the first boar. But yeah, or sometimes when there's really bad lag, I just quit and rage. But yeah, let's not talk about that. Anyways, um, so we're getting Loom right now, and sometimes you won't get Loom right now, so you just um, right after you make the 27th villager, you're gonna do this next step, or the 27th pop, right? But right now I'm getting Loom, so I'm doing it now as well. So what now? So what we need to do now is we need to put villagers on gold, because we're gonna need gold in order to get the Castle Age upgrade once we hit Feudal Age, right? Right now you can see that we have the food for Feudal Age, so we're gonna get that upgrade as soon as Loom finishes. So I think the exact number you need on gold is 3, but there are a lot of builds where you use 4 on gold, so I tend to use 4 on gold. Um, and I'd rather be short. I'd rather have enough gold than be a little bit short on gold, because if you're just like a little bit short, like just like 5, 10 gold, then you always have to go to your mining camp and like force drop, and that's really kind of annoying. So I like to do 4 on gold, and with most eco bonus divs, 4 on gold is fine, and even with Saracens it'll be fine. So yeah, so right now I got these on sheep. I'm just gonna kind of select a couple vills, and then I'm gonna go to gold, and then I'm gonna click the upgrade. All right, so at this point I'm just going to make the mining camp. And then here's a big tip. I was thinking about putting this in my Dark Age tip videos, and I think a kind of a variation of this tip will be in um, the Dark Age tip video. But here's a really nice tip. So with the build that we did with 8 on wood, 4 on berries, 4 on gold, it, um, the nice thing is that the 8 on wood, when you have 8 villagers on wood, they're going to be able to gather 320 wood by the time you hit feudal age. So if the villagers start gathering right now, right, I'm going to have 320 more wood by the time I hit feudal age, right? And that's because each villager gathers around 10 resources per 30 seconds, and feudal age is a 2-minute upgrade, or around a 2 minute. It's 2 minutes and 10 seconds, but we kind of estimate to 2 minutes. So if a villager gathers 10 resources per 30 seconds, and feudal age is around a 2-minute upgrade, there's four groups of 30 seconds and 2 minutes. So each villager is gathering 10 resources, or is gathering, sorry, 40 resources over that whole period of time, right? So 8 times 40 is 320, right? And conveniently, the cost of the blacksmith and the cost of the stable, the 2 feudal buildings we'll need, are going to cost us 325 wood. So basically the same amount of wood, right? So what we have to do now is, um, we have to think about what else do we need other than those feudal buildings though? And the answer is we need the barracks, right? And so if we have 8 on wood right now, and those are going to cover us for our feudal buildings, well, then we need to have enough wood right now to cover us for our barracks, right? In this situation, you can see that we don't have enough wood to build the barracks. We only have 112 wood, and we need 175. So in order to account for the lack of wood we have right now, we need to make a small adjustment. We need to move at least one of these villagers to wood. In this situation, it's probably best to just use the straggler tree as it's really close to the TC, and then we can use the villager later to, to build the barracks or to build the stable or to do whatever. So that's a small adjustment. So if you do this build exactly like I did in this situation, then you should look at your wood right before you click up, or like right after you click up rather. And if your wood is below say 150, then you probably need to add a villager to an additional villager to wood. Um, yeah, so in this situation it is. So we're gonna go and we're gonna just add one more villa to wood and we're gonna be good. And then, sometimes you might be short on wood because your wood line isn't as good or something like that. So it's important to micro the villagers so that they're gathering really efficiently. If we have a guy on gold and he's gathering from the back here, that's not really good, right? We want to make sure that these villagers are gathering the resources as quick as possible. So yeah. So what you want to do is around 50% of the way up, you want to start to build your barracks. It takes, with one villager, it takes you about 1 minute. I think it takes actually 45 seconds to build a military building. So about halfway up, we want to start building the barracks. That way, by the time we get to feudal age, it'll be complete, right? So just taking a quick peek, making sure all these villagers are in the best gathering positions. Um, I think a nice little tip is to generally move your scroll speed up a little bit, make it a little bit faster. And yeah, so like right now, we're gonna make 2 villagers. We're gonna queue up 2 villagers. We're going to make a stable, and then we're gonna make a blacksmith. Once you get better at this build, you're gonna start building the buildings in a little bit more meaningful positions. But for now, just practice making them as conveniently as possible. So in this situation, we just are making the buildings right next to the TC. But yeah, eventually you'll hopefully be able to make like, you can use the buildings as walls and whatever. So right here, you can see it. We're gonna just wait for the blacksmith, and now we're up. All right. So from this point on, I'm not going to really talk about, once you've clicked up the castle age, I'm not going to really talk about the strategy, what to do from here. I'm going to make another video that'll talk about the different kind of variations you can do from this point. But I don't want to, I don't think, or I don't want you guys to try to do too much right now. I want you just to focus on the basics of getting this uptime. And yeah, so that'll pretty much actually do it for this build. We're just going to wait and see what our castle age time is. And yeah, one thing you do want to do that I guess that you can kind of know now is usually you want to get the wood upgrade and the farm upgrade when you click up to castle age. You definitely don't want to get it when you get to feudal age. So don't even think about getting the farm up or the wood upgrade when you're in feudal age. Otherwise, you probably won't be able to get to castle age. You won't be able to click up. So yeah. So we got all the upgrades. And by the way, you're not really going to get the gold upgrade, so I wouldn't worry about that. I think maybe there's a couple situations where you do, but you don't need to get the gold upgrade. So basically all's good right now. Sometimes people add extra stables, but again, we'll talk about all this additional stuff that you'll do from this build in another video. We're not going to talk about it right now because I don't want you guys to get too confused, and it's good to just kind of learn the basics. So yeah, so we got up, and I think the best time that we could have gotten up at for this build is 1540. I think we got up at like 1554 or something like that. But anytime under 16 minutes is probably considered like pro level. I think if you're from the recordings I saw, a lot of times when people are ranked like 1700 in team games on Voobly, they were getting like around 16 minutes and 10 seconds. Usually there's a little bit more lag. Obviously this was done with like not very much lag at all. Um, but online you should probably be shooting for under 16 minutes and 10 seconds. But I would say that a pro would probably be getting under 16 minutes even online. So that's kind of the goal of the fast castle. So when you're practicing, try to shoot for under 16:10, and if you're really going at it, try to shoot for under 16 minutes, and yeah, then you'll be good. All right, guys. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any comments on the video, or if there's any way you think that I could have improved the video or even improve the next videos I make, just let me know in the comments, and I'll give a look. And yeah, I hope you guys stay tuned, and yeah, thanks for watching. See ya.